Hi everyone. So here is Moonlight Soul and my soul sis Marisa from Growing the Flow. And despite the fact that we did have an intention to record while we were together last weekend, it didn't quite materialize. So here we are back on Zoom. Hi Marisa.
Hello, all the best intentions, but here we are.
Yeah, there was just a little bit too much happening while Marisa was visiting here on the farm where I'm visiting in Tennessee. So we are meeting on Zoom to talk about October energies.
Yes, it was an eclipsean event, but we are back in our spaces and going to tap in. And although it is a little different because we're just kind of tapping into all the overall energies this time. So we picked a different deck and we have a beautiful oracle deck of your choosing. So yeah, I guess we'll start with the tarot because we don't have our Queen of the Moon this time, right?
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to use Light Seers, which is another one of our soul decks, so it's not that different. But do we want to shuffle and see what comes up and then just talk through, or what's the best way?
Yeah, like I think last time, because we trialed this last month, just with the theme of the month, we did something like beginning of the month, mid of the month, and the late of the month or something. Didn't we like pull three
We did.
cards?
Okay, yes, it's all
Or was
coming
it
back to
past,
me.
present, future, or something like that?
I think we did beginning, middle, end because it was
Yeah,
towards,
yeah.
yeah. Okay, it's all coming back to me now. So we're going to do that with October in mind because, yeah, believe it or not, I was just, when we were talking before we started recording, it's like, oh, yeah, that's next week.
Yeah, on Tuesday, and then we have the
Yeah.
eclipse. So the beginning of the month is obviously tied up to the solar eclipse in Libra, and then we have the Aries full moon, which is not an eclipse, and that is right before I travel back to Europe. And then at the end of the month, I'll be preparing for my travel back across the Atlantic to Mexico. So I'm like, okay, it's gonna be a bit scattered. So we'll just
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, and all of these energies, because the end of the month we have Samhain and like the veil is thinning as we go, and we're fully in a new season now, and a lot is going on. So we'll do that. We'll start with those three cards and see what is coming up here for beginning, middle, end.
And I
Though
completely
it's
forgot that this is our episode number 30, which is the number three, the co creation, and also is the number associated with Jupiter, which is all about growth and expansion. And in a tarot is the, what is it? Empress, right?
Empress. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's all about creation and gestation as well. So yeah, that's kind of what it is. It's like this whole in between and going through these processes, which include all the labor pains and the contractions and all the things that we experience through that process. So
Yeah, and we are in between the eclipses. At the time when we're recording this, we are now edging closer to the solar eclipse, but some people call it the madness of the time in between eclipses because there was this big impact of the full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces in conjunction with Neptune, and now we are building up towards this seeding of this new relational paradigm, which will be unfolding over the next 9 to 20 years because there will be no lunar eclipse in Libra until 2033 on North Node and then subsequently 2042 on the South Node. So we are in a quite interesting times as a humanity right now.
yeah, and it's interesting, like as you said, with all your October is going to be such a whirlwind that it's funny, I'm feeling like the Two of Pentacles because it's actually the card that came up this week for today's energy of how we are growing. And it's this juggling because it's almost
Hmm.
like these major things are happening and yet people are busy preparing. That's what I was doing over the eclipse. I was preparing to travel. I was very practically like handling business that it's been sort of like this after effect of kind of, recalibrating and trying to um digest everything that's been coming forward. So it's so interesting how, you may or may not be really consciously aware of what's going on, but like
Hmm.
as we say with eclipses, like no one is exempt. We're all experiencing this on some level, so that wherever you find yourself in all of that, you could be moving through different degrees of uh
Insanity.
yeah. There's many different words you can plug in, but insanity, that's a good one.
Insanity, definitely, because yeah, it is the eclipse energy which just like sneaks up on you, because many people are like, oh, it was eclipse, I didn't see anything, I didn't feel anything, and then it's like this unfoldment, like which with regards to eclipses, people say full moon, new moon, 6 months apart from one another, but these eclipses are such a huge cyclical energies, because the archetype of Pisces, and in conjunction with Neptune, and Neptune is the totality, Pisces is the totality, we are purging and causing cycles of everything that ever came before. So it is not just this like, oh yeah, one eclipse and now we will find out what's going on in 6 months. No, we won't, because there is no, like what is it, new moon in Pisces, eclipse in spring. There's going to be the next solar eclipse in Aries. So so these energies are all mixed up, because I mean there was like not really a reason to have an eclipse in Pisces apart from the calculations, mathematical calculations, because the North Node is still in Aries, but we already had an eclipse in Pisces. So like literally the energies of the world, consciously or subconsciously, are that the old is ending, but simultaneously the new is already here, pushing its way through, and it just makes us like it creates a spin in our head, because it's so hard to be able to even fully register what's going on.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It just feels it's such a strange um in between, but it's like, this sort of suspension of what was, what is, what will be, and you're just sort of in this place, but all at the same time is flying and it's busy, and so that's the juggling that I'm feeling is just, but you know, I guess the more aware we are of that, then the more we can sort of be in the moment and be able to navigate with whatever tools we have, to bring in
Mm-hmm.
to move through it. So let's bring in the light seers. Let's bring that tool in so we can see what's coming up for October. Now that I've shuffled this well, let's see.
Oh,
10 Pentacles.
cool.
So that's definitely a culmination and also bringing in generations and legacy and ancestral and all the things. Very, very much the tangible physical earth energy coming in there with what has come forward from
Mm.
all of these cycles that are closing. And then the next generation in there too.
Yeah, it's interesting, the Kabbalistic tree of life.
Yes. Right, so that's beginning of the month, which is an ending and a new beginning with the 10. So, okay, yes. Uh, let's
That's
see.
the eclipse.
Yeah, I know. I was like, okay, yes, we got that. And then middle of the month, Queen of Pentacles,
Wow, there are a lot of earth.
Earth, yeah. And she's like the spirit of that energy. So it's definitely very much here. Like it just
Mm.
feels really present, and but that's really interesting because, like I said, with the veil thinning, and this is such a time of the year to connect in with ancestral energies, which is totally what this card is. But then this being the spirit of that, interesting. I want to see what the third card is. Um,
I hope it's a major.
yeah, let's see. One card there for the end of the month.
Well, that will be just before the new moon in Scorpio.
Of
Oh
course,
yeah.
the major card. It's the world. The culmination of it all. So it really comes full circle with these endings and new beginnings then with this beginning of the month to the card 21 of the Fool's Journey, which wow. And I don't know if you've ever noticed, but this is actually a snake. The circle.
Oh wow, yes.
Yeah.
And it's the
So it's like
seed of life, right? Seed of
yes.
seed of the universe. I know it's flower of life, and what is the seed? Is it the seed of life or seed of universe?
Yeah, sometimes it's called the seed of life, the flower of life. But yeah, there's a lot of like sacred geometry on this card. As you can see in like all the corners. And
Hmm.
but the snake symbolism is definitely present.
We know all about that. We know all about the snake.
Yeah, that's been a theme Since my trip to Tennessee, that's been coming up because of this shedding the skins of the soul, the old, and what is dying in order to be rebirthed, to come
Mm.
forward. And so, you know, beginning of the month, bringing it into the spread here. Yeah, like I said, this is just traditionally brings forward the generations, and specifically, it shows typically three generations. So it's just sort of showing that inheritance and legacy and lineage and all of that, so that it is really bringing forward the ancestral patterns, and I would say not just the traumas and the wounding and all the things that we're transmuting, but also, of course, the gifts and the strengths, and being able to like I was saying, tap into those things in order to navigate, the energies that we're moving through at this time.
Yeah, and I was just quickly checking like what's going on at the end of the month astrologically, and it's the Sun South Node conjunction that is followed by Mercury South Node conjunction, and then Sun Mercury conjunction. So that's very interesting because we just recently had the Venus South Node conjunction. We know that South Node is in Libra. That's the one that we are evolving. We are coming towards the Libra eclipse, which will be happening on South Node. And South Node is the past, is the karma from past life, is the past, and it's in Libra, which is the relationships, which is the way we connect with one another and the world around us. And part of that is, of course, ancestral lineage. And it's interesting because just like we started with, what we were saying about the in connection with the lunar eclipse and these grand cycles closing, and this is like the totality and stuff like that. And in a sense, the 10 of Pentacles, even though it's the world that is the final one, but with regards to the material realm, like the 10 is the ending, a new beginning. And what straight away came to me with regards to that Kabbalah tree of life is that if we never get out of it, you're always somewhere on a tree, you think like, oh, I'm done with this, I finished. But while you're in the physical form, while you incarnate in the pentacles on earth, you're never off the tree. You think you master this, okay, next, we just keep going from branch to branch, connecting the heaven and earth, the spirit realm and the human realm. And yeah, we might think that, oh yeah, the legacy we leave behind, but it's ever evolving process, which is interesting how she put it in the circle, that it always keeps going around and around and around. So yeah, number 10, endings and new beginnings. So it's interesting how this is showing up.
Yeah, it's the same as the world, because the world is the same. It's the end of the fool's journey, but it begins again. So it's the same thing on both ends, and it is circular because it's showing that. And also just to note that card 21 is also the three energy that we mentioned. So there's definitely this creation, co-creation, energy that is so present, because and that really does speak to, I was reminded when you were saying that about it really never ends. Like, yes, the legacy, what we leave behind. And we've been talking a lot about this whole, looking forward 7 generations. And, I say, that the true meaning of life is planting trees under whose shade you don't expect to sit. And then there's this whole like mind blow thing where it's like, yeah, but I'll be back, So it is like we are co-creating for us all,
Yeah, yeah.
So wherever you find your inspiration in all of that, we all are continuously moving through those cycles. And this is just really highlighting that, ending this meeting point between always like endings and new beginnings and endings and new beginnings. But I think that there's this pull to be more present and grounded in the moment, because like I was saying, we have been living such busy lives that we keep so full, and we're always moving on to the next thing, and we're always thinking ahead. And so therefore it's just moving along, and there's this sense of one of the things I was talking about last week was some stuff that had come through about challenges, and that, challenge by choice and choices that we make, and sort of consciously choosing challenges and things that we know are going to stretch us or out of comfort zone or whatever they are. But sometimes when we're in this autopilot, there's a sense of we're making choices with every action and reaction that we have all the time, cause and effect, and those consequences but yet when you're constantly scattered and you're not grounded is where it's more unconscious and you don't maybe feel as much of a part of the whole in that. So I kind of feel like that's where it's transitioning into this Queen of Pentacles because she's seated there, just very, very, like you can see she's on these like red pillows. So it's very much like grounded and she's very connected to her surroundings and she's very connected to Earth. And but there's this like energy of generosity and abundance too that she brings forward. So there's this um just holding of all of that energy as we navigate through all the insanity.
Well, because Queen of Pentacles, like, I know that from what I remember from my tarot course, I think she's meant to represent Capricorn, but like to me, it's like very Taurian energy because she feels to me like Empress, which is
Mm-hmm.
Venus. So it's connected to Taurus. So it makes sense that this card would come after or in between these two cards because we have these pentacles, we have words, which is not Capri Saturn, right? I believe it's Saturn. The maturation, the maturity. We finished the college, we graduated, the graduation, and then in between the two is this foundation. We continuously creating new foundation, just like in my video that I recorded yesterday. The funny thing that came to me, was that that today is a like what is it, cause and effect. Today is the effect of yesterday and the cause of tomorrow. Is the cause of that's literally what spirit gave me because it's continuously the law of cause and effect. We always only in the present moment, that's all we ever have, but the present moment is the effect of the cause of yesterday, the effect of yesterday, and is the cause for tomorrow. Tomorrow's effect will be caused by today. So that's what I feel, that this woman, this Queen of Pentacles, which is like the master, not quite the master, obviously that's the king. That's why I feel like to me it would make more sense for the king to be Capricorn, right? Because that's more like the mastery. But either way, without getting lost on terminology and stuff, she really represents like creating a new foundation, like having her proverbial pool together and like understanding, like being connected to this earthly realm, but from the feminine perspective, which is the yin, the receptive, that like I don't know, to me, just like especially the way the card is depicted, it really reminds me of the Empress.
I was going to say that actually when she came out, because you were just at that point, you were saying about the 30 was the three, which is the Empress, and we're talking
Mm-hmm.
about gestation and all that. And I was going to say, she's the most Empressy card that you can get without being the Empress, really. Because she really is like the archetype of like the mother, the healer, and she holds that space. And so I say the queens are like the spirit or the essence of the suit. So as you move through the pentacles, you really have, we are on the upper end here between the 10 and queen. I mean, it really is like this culmination and then the essence of it, which I'm seeing a lot of different things here, but it's interesting how, speaking of all the relationships and Libra season and the way in which all these players are co-creating the legacy of this unit, whatever it is. Yes, family, tribe, societies, communities, just a group of people. But then you have the individual on the other end, because at the
Mm-hmm.
center of all is you. At the center of your world, your universe is you, and those interactions that you have with those other fools on the journey that are creating this and will continue to. So I was kind of seeing a little storyboard there, but in the center of it, sort of anchored in and rooted into this earthly experience, is the essence of the material,
Mm.
and that's where she sits.
Yeah, and even like with regards to the last card, like we come alone and we will leave alone, and everything that's happening in between is for our expansion because, like, she's in a circle, and like you pointed out, it's a snake. So it's this continuous process of evolution, continuous process of metamorphosis, the shedding of all skin and becoming the more advanced or more evolved version of ourselves. But nobody can do that for us. Like we come into life and we exit this physical realm alone, alone. It is always alone. And that in between, which is filled with these other beings, these other people that help us to grow, and we help them to grow, and all the rest of it, this is the co-creation. This is the number 3. This is the collaboration that we as a soul sign up for with regards to all these contracts that we sign, that okay, I'll help you with this, you help me with that, whatever it is, we help each other to heal through this or trigger that or whatever it is. But at the beginning and the end is always just that soul on its own before it merges into the human collective consciousness and then return back to the source, back to the all there is.
Yeah, which you can see that connection here, and actually that's where she's looking. So even though she's here, and it's like that as above, so below energy, that she is anchored in here. And I like how the dress is like all the chakra colors. There's just, I mean, this is a really actually very positive card. I mean,
Yeah,
this is
yeah, yeah.
culmination. It represents joy and wholeness and completion. Um, so it's actually quite beautiful to get, to think that with, as we were saying, such an energetically busy month and so much that's going on. And, then we step into like some of the more shadowy aspects and such, that this is actually, quite a beautiful progression to move through and back again, and starting anew. So,
But you see,
yeah.
like I just mentioned, that like literally on November 1st, we have the Scorpio new moon, and
Mhm.
she's surrounded by a snake, which is also a representation of Pluto. Pluto, Scorpio, snake. This is all the same archetype, which is about the rebirth, the death and rebirth. So it's interesting to me that we are inquiring about, okay, well, what the energies are going to be like by the end of this month. That we are starting with the eclipse. And then we're going to be proceeding towards the new moon in Scorpio, which is again this seeding of what? Well, Scorpio is all about this empowerment, about this evolution. And and we know that this is like literally next month Pluto is going to move back into the sign of Aquarius. Pluto is going to station direct, I believe, on October 11th. So right before the full moon in Aries, which is not an eclipse, so that's the middle of the month. So this was all this process which we are still currently undergoing, this process of Pluto in retrograde, final time in the sign of Capricorn, which is again representation of both the Ten of Pentacles and the world, because the chapters are ending. We had the full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces in conjunction with Neptune, cycles are ending, and we are creating the new foundation. So in a sense, it's like the universe is like cheering. Like I feel like it's a celebration because it's saying these cycles of continuous, in a sense, like, and this is my opinion, of suffering, of like thinking that there is no other way to be, there is no other way to exist because this is how it's always been done. This is the shadow aspect of the legacy we were being passed from generation to generation, the stuckness, this Capricorn, right? The Saturn, that this is the rules, this is the structure of reality, and that's ending. And that's why this Queen of Pentacles, which is like this grounded energy of like, that I am that I am in this physical incarnation, and I'm here to create. I'm the creatrix or creator, and then the cycle will end and begin anew. And we know that November is a powerful month in itself because we will have the 11/11 portal. Of course, before that, we have the 10/10, which is endings, but then it's the 11/11, next in November. So this is just so perfect.
It really is. And the mantra that goes with that world card is about it being a gift. It says, I accept this gift of completion and I ascend to new levels of awareness and wholeness. I am love. So it's just kind of like this like light bulb that goes on from being in experiencing the shadow and moving through all of these darker and denser aspects, that there's this lightness of being in the midst of all of it. I mean, literally surrounded by the snake, the very thing that is facilitating this act of death and rebirth and shedding of skins, but it's expansion. It's expanding beyond what we used to wear. If you think of it in terms of the belief systems, the structures, all of it, it's literally like ripping off, like shedding that skin in a way that shows up in a lot of different ways. So that's not always a pleasant experience. Hence all of that, the contractions and the things that we're saying about likening it to the birthing process, because we're birthing a new human collective. And so it's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, but as we experience with our host who got bitten by a snake, there is a lot of poison that the body needs to transmute to become stronger, to become stronger than before, right? Is the snake medicine one way or another. So it is not pleasant and it is not easy. And it's not supposed to be, because we, like okay, if we look at it linearly and not through the world we exist in at the moment, like you have to, or you had to, prior to the time and age we're living in now, put a hard work to get your diploma, to get your title, to be PhD or something. Like there was no one to help you or someone to pay to or whatever. This was, like especially when we look at the time of ancient Greece and stuff, like these people had to prove that they have the wisdom, that they have the knowledge to be considered as the wise people and stuff. So yeah, so Saturn, and we know like this is the bad rap Saturn gets, that you need to put the work in. Saturn not gonna just reward, that's Jupiter. Saturn is just going to go and observe and say, okay, did you pass the lesson? So all these, well, especially the first and the last, are talking about this graduation, about that, okay, yeah, humanity as a whole made a decision that we are going to move beyond the limitations of the past. And that involves the snake medicine, that we need to face the shadows that are hiding in the underworld. This is all Pluto archetype, and Pluto is in Capricorn, the shadows that are hiding within the system, within the structure of reality we are experiencing at the moment, and it needs to be purged. So, but in a sense, there is a lot to celebrate, because we know, because we are in the midst of it, that it is underway, and the process is going to be completed. It's just a matter of time and space, because of density, because of pentacles. It's the slowest moving thing, and this is all representation of Earth. All three cards is all Earth. So this is the density through which we're moving on planet Earth and experiencing, and it will take time to get all the poison out of the system, but it's already happening.
Yeah, that's such a good analogy as far as flushing out and clearing out that venom, the poison of um I was just, when you were saying that about the hard work and everything, yeah, it's like the blood, sweat, tears, like that sense of like, yeah, you have to put in the hard work in order to reap the rewards and all of those old phrases. And in a sense, yeah, I mean that, the process of creation and moving through all of the experiences of the cause and effect and navigating all of that is very dense and very it's tactical. We're experiencing it all, so there's many different ways to have walk that path. And this is sort of embracing and encompassing all of it in with that world. It's a celebration of all of it, all of the hard work and dedication and focus. And and you can just keep on going like this, because then it looks back to, yes, built on the backs of all those who went before, who created the foundation and then the pathway that we've been taking. So there is this sort of, I feel like even like this moment of reverence of like seeing that and acknowledging that. And then taking from that, drawing from that, all of the gifts, all of the wisdom, all that is not lost in the experience, and using that then to create the new world that's on the other side. And this is all, talking about October, just a key point in time that is all coming together.
Absolutely. And yeah, that is another very important aspect, because it's very easy, especially the way we were being conditioned, to focus just on one polarity of the experience, especially like with regards to ancestors. We always just look at the ancestor wounding, ancestor healing, ancestor trauma, but we don't often talk about ancestor gifts, ancestor wisdom, and that is the thing. Like, just like you said, with the, like the ancestors that planted the trees, that made the railways, that got electrocuted, like because they were trying to figure it out and stuff, like all these things we take for granted in our everyday reality. Somebody had to create them. Somebody had to come up with the idea and go through the trial and error. And a lot of people died trying to figure it out. And we just like, oh yeah, switch the light on, or tell your whatever, Alexa or something. So, but somebody had to go through the process of finding out how the hell does this work, how can we make our life simpler or whatever. So this is the thing, like, and I also feel that this is embodied, even though not fully, because we know there is the King of Pentacles after the Queen of Pentacles. But I feel with the Queen of Pentacles, it's like held within, like because the king, it's like, to me, it's like the the male, if you want to be like gender specific. But it's the masculine energy is a container, and what it holds in is the feminine. And that's what I feel, this feminine, this Queen of Pentacles, even though it doesn't have to be gender specific, but it is a feminine energy. She is the keeper, she's the keeper of all that. It's like kind of for some reason like an akashic record, like she holds the wisdom of everything that happened on this earth. And obviously that's also together with the other cards, all together, that there is that wisdom of everything that happened on this planet, good, bad, ugly, all of it, because all of these experiences had to play out in order for us to learn and experience the contrast and recognize, do we or do we not want to keep experiencing this again, co-creating this, because it is all just about creation. Just like we have that all that yellow, and the red on the first card, it is about that we have the base, we come to this earth and we are being given that piece of clay, and the universe go, okay, you go and create whatever you want. It's all about experience, about expansion. And this is where I feel like literally we are at that stage where, because of the Saturn in Pisces, Neptune in Pisces, still retrograde for another month. So we have the opportunity to go within and to decide, with this Jupiter being in Gemini for another while yet until June next year, we have the opportunity to decide, to discern and decide, like, what are we wanting to take with us? And that is based on the wisdom that's been passed on to us, and that wisdom was built on many mistakes.
Yeah.
So that's it, so that's literally it. But like the cards are indicating, and we know astrology is very clear about that, the cycles are ending. So it's like, okay, did you learn your lesson? If you didn't, you're going to keep recreating these things at the rapid speed, because we don't have to wait very long time for this unresolved stuff to come around. We don't have to wait 7 years or 28 years for Saturn return. It's happening quickly, because Saturn is in Pisces, so everything is manifesting at the rapid speed. And it is for us to be able to make this choice to transit from one era to another, with the wisdom, and leave that which is not part of it behind with gratitude, I suppose.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking when I was saying that it's like the essence of it. And when you think of something being like an essence or an extract of something, like like that's what I was just feeling like, she is the keeper of the wisdom and all, like of the earth. It's like a Mother Gaia energy, like she's the earth mother. I mean, that's what the Empress, and like I said, I really feel that energy through especially this depiction of the card. And so, and it's very stable. It's very sturdy. I love that it's representing, like, as you mentioned, the yellow and red here. We have the red and the orange here. So it's all those lower base chakras that, again, are where the energy is moving up through there, which is the foundation, and then opening up into the new, which we can see is very connected with spirit. So, it's taking that essence, that extracting from it, all that is of value and worth and use to create with a new. And I'm getting all the far, like, when you were talking, I was thinking about too, like when you are present and connected and grounded with the earth, and this is an experience that we've both just gotten to have with, like, literally harvesting from the ground and seeing that process, and just having a new, for myself anyway, appreciation for that cycle of and the gifts that literally come forward from the earth. Like it is like, like when you said walking into a room and flipping on the light switch, there's this unconsciousness that's there. And again, there's no judgment here. It's not about saying like, oh, we have no idea how easy we have it. That's true. But at the same time, again, it feels like this unconscious just going through the motions because of
Mm,
the energies that we have this coming into our awareness through various ways to bring us down. And that includes coming into your awareness through lack or something that's not pleasant that brings you to the awareness that like, oh, this is not something that just is always available, to me without having some type of skin in the game,
yeah,
participating in the process of connecting with the earth and putting in the work and putting in the energy and intention that goes into, this magic that just, so I don't, there's just so many different things that are coming in and different angles that it could be looked at to say that suffice it to say that the guidance is to get grounded and connect wherever you can so that you feel like there's this a conscious awareness around what's happening right now because it's
mm,
actually really beautiful and something that to choose to be an active participant so that you are making those choices from a conscious informed place so that you decide, what's of value to you that you want to utilize when creating this new world uh, in those energies on the other side.
absolutely. The new way of experience. That's another thing, and that's something that I covered in my video yesterday, which I recorded about the solar eclipse in Libra, because it is a seeding of a new energy. And, like we said, this eclipse is not going to have a counterpart. There will be no lunar eclipse in Libra in spring. It will be a lunar eclipse in Virgo. So we will not have lunar eclipse in Libra until 2033. And then that will be on North Node, and the lunar eclipse in Libra on South Node, just like what we have going at the moment, will not be until 2042, which by that time, Pluto will be almost done with Aquarius. Pluto will be moving into Pisces for the first time in 2043. So this is what I mean, that we are seeing an energy of this new way of being, the new way of interacting, because we know everything in this reality is relational. It's everything is relationships with people, but relationship with everything, relationship with your things, with your food, with your reality, with your stories. Everything is relationship because we're relating, like, oh, I am and what is around me, that is also the Mercurial and the Mercurian archetype. It's like, how do I identify that which I observe, and then based on that we create a story, which is the Jupiter, the opposition, Gemini and Sagittarius. So technically, what story you're going to be experiencing going forward, because this is a seeding process and it's an eclipse, and this one, unlike the one a year ago, is happening in a new phase. The last one a year ago in October 2023, it was in a closing phase. So now the things reset, especially since April because of the eclipse in Aries, things reset. And now what is going to come out of these seeds that we planted, at the beginning of October, will depend on the choices people will make with regards to how do they wish to relate going forward. And then we will see that the process of manifestation over the time, the illumination will be in 33, and then that cycle will end in 42. So this is not something that we will see manifested or changed in 6 months. This is an energy that's going to be unfolding over next 9 to 20 years. This is huge shift. So this is, and obviously it's not just like we don't just stop in October just because this is an eclipse time, but this is I feel October is a transition to 2025. That's what
Mm.
I feel. That technically I'm getting goosebumps. So Spirit is confirming. I really feel, because this year, and I know you and I were talking about it a lot, like it feels like it's gone very quickly, but it feels like million years in one. There was so much that happened in this 1 year. So it's like so many quantum leaps and this continuous change of frequency and dimensional experience and stuff. And I really feel that this eclipse season is kind of like a shift from one era to another era. And and I really feel that October is already, getting us into 2025 energy.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally feel that too. And that's also why I do feel like there's like so many different paths that you could take to just
Mm.
interpret these three cards that like, you know, sometimes when I go off like this, like, you know, there's so many things to talk about. And it's like, okay, we're talking about this month, beginning, middle, end. Like, yeah, what's going on? Am I meeting up with family? Am I, you know, hanging out at my house and making, you know, like all the simple things that these cards could mean too. And it's all happening at the same time. So this is where our focus can be scattered and it can be difficult to really follow one train of thought or,
Mm.
you know, inner strand of energy through. So it's like be where you are, you know, but, you know, maybe some self-care and, you know, best practices do have to do with regularly grounding and coming back into your body and just kind of having that moment so that you can feel a little more connected in your participation in all of it because you know it's only so many things that we can do at once in terms of putting our energy into. So you know, again, using discernment there is always good guidance as well, just to really you know, those relationships and dynamics and things that will all be part of it, you know, again, just sort of taking that moment to step back and really assess where you are and how you wish, make a conscious choice in what you want to put in and what you are taking out and where you wish to go from here with that.
Yeah, it's like that, mastering the art of being present, and at the
Mhm.
same time, more and more applying the multi-dimensional lens of experience in the present moment.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Yeah. And that makes me think we should bring in our beautiful gateway of light activation, because these are definitely cards that can show those multiple different portals and access points that we can choose from, these gateways. And as you mentioned, we'll have the 1010 portal this month as well. So maybe we'll see what comes forward to come in with the rest of our cards here. Shuffle here, see what's coming forward for us. A gateway of light activation.
It's so interesting because, like I said, Pluto will station direct only a day later, and that's like 1110, which is number 3, and we are in the year 8, which is number 11.
Yeah, I know. I was like trying to quickly add that up. Yes, it is, in fact. Which 11 in itself is a gateway, is a doorway, you know, creates that space between. Let's see.
Yeah, this is my one of my most favorite decks, by the way.
Yeah, I know you got me onto it. So I literally just opened it and connected with it here before this. So this is my first official card pull from the deck. So let's see what we're bringing forward. Oh, I saw this one when I was shuffling. It is Sword of Light.
Oh, cool. I never pulled that one before.
Beautiful.
Looks very Archangel Michael like.
Divine protection, cords cut, breakthrough energy. It does look very Archangel Michael and very Ace of Swords, you know, very much
Mm.
breaking through. And it's a change of energy here, you know, because this is very earthy, as we said. And now we have this air energy coming in with the sword. And it's talking about cord cutting, which is interesting too, because again, it's like as we move from old to new, from one cycle to another, it is always a good place to assess what attachments we have. And, you know, again, conscious choice to cut those cords with things. And it's funny because I was just listening to my cord cutting meditation that I do for my Metatron color healing today, and I was listening to it. And I love it because it really takes you through, you know, looking at those chords and intentionally thinking about, well, what do they look like? And why are they there? And how have they served? And are they old? Are they new? Are they
Mm.
frayed? You know, and it helps you to, again, materialize something very energetic, which is those connections, those chords that keep us holding on to old energy that
Mm.
may or may not be coming with, because on the other side of that cord cutting there's a cord boosting that I do where it's like I actually want to cut the energy flow to this thing that's no longer serving people, places, things. And I want to boost the energy between me and this new thing or this thing that I want to be more connected with. And so it's very intentional. So I'm
Yeah.
curious, breakthrough energy. I'm curious what the Oracle has to say about this card. Sword of Light. So like we said, there's no numbers, so it's going to be alphabetical here. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Well, in fact, Sword of Light is the main energetic tool of Archangel Michael, the Prince of Heaven. His name means he who is like God, and he is considered Source's right-hand man. He is the archangel who has chosen to guide and protect all light workers. Anyone who is feeling called to make a difference on this planet can be guided and supported by him. The Sword of Light has been pictured as both a spear of light and a lightning bolt. Either way, it's a powerful symbol of truth and spiritual power. Even though it is carried by Michael, it can be invoked by all of those working in the light to help them move beyond blockages and limitations and to sever cords of fear. Joan of Arc invoked it when she was going into battle. Okay. So the message then that comes through here is confirmation that you are walking the path of light and responding to pre-incarnation soul contracts to make a difference on the planet. It's also a sign that you have the opportunity to sever connections to fears and limitations. Yeah, I think it's like a cleanup, because like I say that about, whether you're in the northern hemisphere and it's now autumn, or you're in the southern hemisphere and it's spring. An energetic cord cutting is great to do in between seasons, because it's like you're let's say in the autumn, and you're literally experiencing this right now on a farm. Like they're preparing, the harvest is ending, they're preparing to turn over the fields and do the process that's involved in readying them for the next season, for the winter. So it's cutting away and clearing out the things that are no longer coming with. So it's interesting because in a lot of places, and then in spring, we're turning over the earth and it's reawakening and preparing once again. So it's literally what's happening, what the earth is showing us, that energetically is presenting itself to us now. And so it's talking about the way that energetic cords bind us to situations, loved ones, the past. But you are in transition now and detaching from unnecessary connections, dramas, and fears. So know that there will be a great severing at this time, and you might feel isolated for a moment. Yeah, that's what we were saying, as you will be reconfiguring your circle of trust, moving into a life that is in greater alignment with your highest good. Know that the cords that bind you to loved ones and soul family will remain intact. It's only the lower vibrational connections that are being severed. Expect breakthroughs and doors of opportunity opening for you. So, yeah, that's definitely speaking to this transition time, which is an opportunity for us to clear out, cut, and then I feel boost the energetic connections to that which we wish to align with.
Yeah, now this gives, because you see all this, I mean, even the Queen of Pentacles, she's like, sitting on a log. So it looks like she's got a circle, next to her, like, next to her hand. So every single card has a circle on it, because this Archangel Michael sword is got like a halo thing. So it's interesting because what I was getting as soon as I saw this card, to me, it was something that I keep repeating, to my clients in the videos, that now is a time where we can release all the karma, the contracts, just let it go, because we don't have to keep recreating the same wheel of I play this role, you play that role, next life we switch. So, we're trying to continuously balance, there's continuous desire for balancing of the extremes, of the polarities, right? And, now we can look at the first card from this perspective of like, yeah, apart from the fact that, yeah, the experience of humanity as a whole, and also the structure of reality and the world we are coexisting in at the moment is changing. It's metamorphizing into something completely different that will be unrecognizable going forward into the future. But with regards to Archangel Michael and the first card, and also, you know, like all the cards really, because this is what creates, you know, this wisdom and, you know, the foundation of past, present, and future. It's this releasing ourselves from this, and this is something which I shared with you, and I think I might have shared it with my audience before as well. That I believe that we are ending the contracts with the human families. You know, like the families we are born into are not necessarily our soul families. They are our human families. You know, us as a star seed agreed to come here and to co-create with these beings from potentially different places or whatever, because we all hold certain frequency and have certain gifts to offer, and there is certain like pattern, you know, that has been continuing through bloodline, and we came to bring a new blood, you know, bring a new tools or whatever. And this is ending now. We don't have to keep doing that. We don't have to keep coming into these environments which we feel alienated in. And most light workers were born into an environment where they feel like aliens, like they didn't fit, they didn't belong, they couldn't connect, they feel unseen, they feel unvalidated, they feel like something wrong with me because I'm different, you know. And this is ending. This is ending. I really feel that these children that are born now, majority of parents who birth in these children, this is people who are going through their healing, who are going through their, you know, transmutation and core cutting, karmic closure, whatever. And these children are the soul family. So, you know, these children will be seen. They will feel seen. That, you know, there will be the connection, the recognition as you feel with your children, but you didn't feel with your mom necessarily or your parents. I didn't feel with my parents. I feel it with my nephews. So this is a very different new beings that are born on this planet and are already here, but will continue to be born, because there is this new blood coming that is in resonance with us, you know, pattern shifters, indigo, whatever you want to call it, us that are different. And that eventually this will create this different race, different consciousness. So this being reborn into the family where we are just supposed to complete some karma and learn some karmic lessons, but it's not really a frequential match, but it was necessary for raising the frequency, the vibration, that's ending. So that's why I feel with this Archangel Michael card, which gave a completely different spin and another layer to all that we said before, this is what's happening, apart from everything to do with humanity, collective consciousness, and individual, you know, individual evolution. It's also this, you know, that we're releasing ourselves from the karma of being reincarnated into families that we are not necessarily in a soul resonance with, but we agreed, we signed contract, we, you know, it's for the best of all, it's for the evolution of all, but that's now ending. It will no longer be necessary.
Mm-hmm. And I think that that goes back to the, you know, the blood, sweat, and tears, and built on the backs of those that came before, because for sure, these kids are coming in and they're free of karma that we have carried, and we carried it. So that's the thing, is like, you know, when we look at it from a very 3D personal lens, we're picking out all these characters and like, okay, yeah, I'm going to be free of like that crew because I never fit in anyway. But it's like, you being freed from that, cutting those cords also frees them.
Exactly.
Because they also have been working through soul contracts. And so it's just fascinating in the thought that we all then have a new opportunity to create new stories and new cycles. And so, yes, from one perspective, the idea of cutting a cord, walking away, clearing something out, you know, detaching can be bittersweet or mixed emotions, or there's a sense of duty or attachment in that way. It's actually our role. It's actually what we agreed to do, you know? So there's a part of like, we're actually all together. Yeah. You know, something that a visual I had seen before was shared with me about sort of seeing like a cast standing on a stage, you know, at the end of a series, you know, like a television show ends. And at the end, they all come out, you know, like they finish and the curtain closes and everybody comes out and they're like, you know, they're out of character now. And they're like, hey, they're all together and they're holding hands and they're taking bows and everybody's clapping. And it's like, yeah, like we can do this now. Like it totally shifts the energy of like, yeah, we're leaving all that behind and it's dark and dense and heavy and, good riddance versus like it's just like this beautiful spiral of like ascension that has happened on the layer by layer that was all made possible by this entire
Mm,
cast and crew. So it's actually so much more collective than it is individual, and it is just you here and standing on stage in the spotlight, at the end. But the fool's journey is they're coming onto your stage, you're on their stage, and we're helping each other to facilitate these individual journeys. So no matter where you're looking in at it, whether you're looking at this big, huge picture over time, you're just looking at, your lifetime, this year, this month, it's all happening. So it feels really, I don't know, that just helped me to really shift that because it feels heavy when you think about like all the things you have to cut cords with and all the things that, I ought to be, liberating myself from, but actually it's exactly what you came to do. And,
mm,
kids are a whole nother story. That's a whole next series. That's the next season, you know?
mm.
So, yeah, that's really beautiful.
It's funny because literally, as you were saying it, that's exactly what was I was seeing it in my head, and you just started verbalizing it. I was like, I knew exactly where you were going with that because we got the download at the same time. But like first, what I was getting was again the Three of Cups. Like the celebration, and then obviously we expanded it to the stage, the collective stage. But this is literally what it is, like cheers to that, completion, literally completion, legacy, completion. We can see all these different beings. So it's like, oh yeah, like, yeah, I don't fit into this family because maybe this family is too Syrian and I'm from Lemuria or whatever. It doesn't matter, doesn't matter the labels. But they're all equal, the Arcturus and the Pleiades don't go saying, hey, you suck, we are better than you. This doesn't exist, like they don't have this competitiveness going on there. So that's literally what it is. It's like, that yes, like the last curtain has closed, like there is this standing ovation or whatever, and then we all go like, oh, it was great, but thanks God, because I'm ready for another game. I'm ready to now become. And that's literally what it is. It's literally like all this stuff we're going through in the human life. It literally is exactly that. It's exactly that. But when we plugged into the matrix with the body and sensory experiences and the memories and the DNA and all the rest of it, it just becomes so heavy because we carry all these things that came before, good, bad, ugly, all of it, because that's like when you get a script, you don't pick and choose like, hey, I don't want this, I don't want this part of the scene, like it's all building up towards a certain storyline, right? But yeah, the Archangel Michael is saying that, but you can now break free from this story. You don't, there is like, again, it's not necessary to keep reliving these patterns like anymore, because we've been doing this for thousands of years. There's no need for that. We learned the lesson, it's finished. We don't need to, like, it's like, what, we're gonna do another play after it's finished, just for the fun of it? Like, who's gonna be watching? No one. They already moved on. So yeah, there is a from the spirit point of view, because the spirit sees things differently, there is a lot to celebrate. From the human point of view, where we are in a middle of the storm, the, what is it, the eye of the needle or whatever, we go like, what are you talking about? My life is falling apart. So yeah, so this is where the only way not to go absolutely crazy and to completely lose hope and like fall into despair and depression is to have the human experience by applying multidimensional lens,
Yeah.
because the experience we are having, as humans, is one layer of it, but it's not all there is. Doesn't mean that it's not happening. This is not about spiritual bypass and now going into la la land and like, hey, yeah, everything's got a meaning, I'm not really suffering, and this is like where we really have to open ourselves up to this multidimensional experiencing, that nothing is just linear, nothing is just that one thing. And this is the only way to get through it, because otherwise it's so easy just to lose hope because it's too much from that one perspective.
Yeah. The the uh the acting, the scene, the really like that analogy is really playing out for me because it's like when you're in a particular scene, you're very committed to that role. You're in that moment, you're holding the energy of that particular scene, but all the while there's things going on in the other parts of the story. It's just that
Mm.
right now the camera is focused on this moment, this scene, and so you're really all in character. But at the end, when you're done, that scene, they say, cut. And that's exactly what this is saying. Cut. Cut the cords, the curtains close, and that's the end of that scene. And we build on it from there. So, you can even look at it that way, to sort of wrap our minds around the multidimensionality of it because there's so many layers. And when you think about like a sweeping epic saga, and all the generations and all the things, like if you sit down and watch something that's like some 8 hour long program that takes you through all these generations, and it's like, you know what I mean, because it's like it's pretend and we're watching it on a television, but it's created by us because we're literally creating our own experience to entertain ourselves.
Mm, 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 mm.
So it's just like this process that just keeps going. So it's just so fascinating, and it is to be celebrated because while also being in the energy in the moment of each scene and each episode and the chapters and all the things that have all helped to create the totality of this story.
Yeah, yeah. And the story is changing right now. So
Yeah.
um, we know the old script very well, and it's very familiar, and we know the role we played, and we have no clue, what is the next role. I imagine like these actors that they finish the movie and they feel like on the high because, oh great, like I got my Oscar, whatever, and then it's the low because it's like, who am I now, what role am I going to play, because there's that, right? But then it takes us back to Venus in Scorpio now, and this grand water trine will be experiencing for the upcoming eclipse. And that's take you within, like where everything else fails, we forced to go within and reconnect. And then we know that, at the end of the day, it's all just this flow of life, and it all has a meaning and a purpose, just like that flower of life and the tree, right? And the
Mhm.
flower of universe and all the rest of it, the geometry, it all has a purpose and a meaning. There is
Yeah.
a there is a point to that is the saying, that there is the point to that madness or something, I don't
A
know.
method to the madness.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all serving and it's all culminating into something that we're still creating because I feel like we haven't made this reference in a while. A never-ending story. We
But
haven't said a
the
never-ending
never
story.
ending story is ending now. I mean, it's not gonna, the story itself is not gonna end, but the never ending story is going to change into different
It's a
story.
new story. Yeah, it's a next book. I mean, I think we got to close the book out at some point and create a new volume because it's a big book. But yeah. So, wow. So that's all going to happen. Well, October is definitely a key point in all of that, is I think the crux of this message that's coming through from these cards is all the characters have assembled, and the key is using that discernment to determine, what you're taking with you into the next uh, story.
Yeah, and we're talking about the next 9 to 18 years, right? 2033, 2042. So during that period of time, we all will decide, especially with the full moon, 2033 on the North Node, what is the illumination, what is the totality, what is the thing so to me, it literally is the acting is the best analogy. It literally is going to the casting to play different role. So, during this period of next 9 years until 2033, we're gonna be deciding, okay, what is this role that I want to play now? If I am not this traumatized person with all this ancestor trauma and all this stuff that I inherited and brought from past life and stuff, which I'm so over-identified with, this is the story of my life. Let me tell you all the things that happened to me and my ancestors, right? When all that is gone, when all that is finished, and they say, okay, well, you cannot keep repeating the same story because the story is finished, okay? Then who am I? What am I becoming? What is this new story? And that can be very scary. That is the North Node in Aries,
Yeah.
so these next 9 years, because this is not just October. This is showing up like, oh yeah, this is the energy, but okay, what else is going on out there? So yeah, so the period of this next decade, 2 decades, we're going to understand what is the next story. You as a part of the play and humanity as the stage is going to be choosing to play in the upcoming times.
Yeah, so it's time to prepare for the role that you wish to play and getting into character. So, that is something too that can help with the discernment in terms of if this is where I want to go and this is the role I want to play and this is the story that I want to be in, brings us back to those conscious choices around, making choices in every now moment that facilitate that foster that help to create that. And that helps to give us a little, choice point to be able to look like, is this pattern of behavior, way of being, belief system helping to create this new story? Is it helping me get into character for this story? Or not, and that makes it simplifies for me anyway, what I'm cutting and what I am boosting my attachment and my energy into. So, and just starting there. And I think that helps because it starts with you as the character and who you want to be in the story and, building from there. And in so doing, you're going to call in the people, places, and things that will help you to facilitate that
Um,
story.
my eyes continuously being drawn to that Queen of Pentacles because apart from the fact that she represents me, Taurus, but also because of that stillness and presence. You can see that she's just still and calm and present and grounded, and just she's getting her basics. The basics are there, the foundation is there, the basics needs, and she's in nature. And this is, as you experience, coming here for a few days, it's so healing being in a nature, being away from all that craziness out there, and just completely in a suspended reality, like just pause button has been put place on our lives, and just being able to be like, and this is why no recording took place while you were here, because we just wanted to be. We didn't want to do, we just wanted to be, just absorb this presence, right? So this is what I feel is very paramount aspect and building block of this new character that you are choosing to play.
Yeah, I love that. And that's so true. Like just to be. And again, it feels foreign. It doesn't feel right because then we should all over ourselves, right? We should be recording. We should be doing this. We should be doing that. But actually, why? Who says, like we don't have to do anything. So there's just again, that's all that old expectation and keeping that going that we're
Mm.
constantly creating, that we're constantly doing. And yeah, she's having like no problem just being, just sitting there like comfy on her pillow, propped up in nature and holding that. And that's her mantra. Her mantra is I enjoy my deeply connected life and I lead it with an outpouring of warmth, abundance, and love. So it's steady, it's nurturing, it's grounded, it's down to earth, and it's also very generous and abundant. And there's enough for all, and there's no sense of lack or worry and
Mm.
hurry and all of those things that, have been a part of our environments in many cases for so long that it is difficult to get out of character. That's the other thing I was thinking of, and I don't know if everyone will know the reference, but like the Elvis movie, Austin Butler, I think his name is, but there's like the guy that just played Elvis in the movie.
Okay.
And by everyone, I mean you. I don't know if you're going to know what I'm talking about because I know you didn't see it. But the point is that the movie was done of Elvis, and I mean, he put his entire self into that character to the point that it had permanently, extensively changed the way he speaks. That he had to go to a voice coach to learn how to not sound like Elvis anymore because it became such a part of his being because he was so immersed in that role. And that's what I was feeling. And there's many actors that have had that story
Mm.
of like really putting themselves into the role and having a hard time cutting the cords with that. So
Mm,
it's like, yeah, it's like I'm definitely relating to this because a couple of days is not enough in many cases to go into a new environment or to be in a
mm,
place where you're bringing with you your attachments to all of that other energy of these roles that you play. And it can be difficult to unplug. It can be difficult to settle in and get grounded into a new energy. And so she's modeling that. She's showing this confidence and like just this steadiness in just holding that, being in that I think many of us could use some coaching, some acting lessons so
mm.
we can embody that. And that's where you go from there. She's the spirit, the essence. The king is the embodiment of the suit. So that's the role that we're preparing here.
Yeah, yeah, and that's just perfect. And it will take time because it's Pentacles, because it's Earth.
Yeah, takes time. So therefore there's more beyond October, but it's a big start, obviously. There's still a lot packed into those 31 days.
There you go. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
I think we gutted it to death. These
Yeah, we
cards.
seized it all. We played this role to its fullest. It's time to take
Absolutely.
our curtain call.
Yep. So I don't really have personally anything more to add. I think that we've
Okay.
covered it. But I know, Marissa, as you mentioned, the cord cutting and equinoxes and everything, you have some offerings to mention.
Yeah, this is that time of year. I have a couple of different things. I do have my equinox spreads available right now, and I'm going to keep those out, definitely through October, because it's a beautiful spread. I have one for autumn, one for spring, where we use some beautiful themed decks and in elements and such to really look into your prior season and into the current one and beyond. So that's a fun one, the equinox. And then the cord cutting, energetic cord cutting, and as the time goes on too, ancestral healing is
Mm,
awesome this time of year as well. I have a lot of themed decks and elements and things that I'll be bringing forward. So those are like some extra things that are available. And then October, we'll be doing the empowerment pack again and kicking off a month of empowerment there. So, and a new sharecast. So the Marco Polo app, it's my free space that's tucked away from social media where I do my weekly collective card pulls and offer free card pulls, personal card pulls, and all kinds of goodies. And we'll definitely be doing pick a cards because I have so many Halloween and Samhain and fun decks to play with this time of year. So October would be a fun one to check out for sure.
absolutely. Yeah, it's exciting times because we're going to be moving deeper into the fall with all the colors changing and the weather getting wetter and colder.
Yeah, you're in a beautiful place for it. So I
Yeah,
look forward to seeing how it changes there.
absolutely. So thank you very much, Marissa. Always a pleasure. And yeah, until next time, I'll be relocating soon and then relocating again. So I'll be going back and forth over the Atlantic. But yeah, always only on the opposite side of the computer screen.
You know where to find you.
Exactly. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening. I hope you found some value in this. Thank you, Marissa. Thank you for your time. And until next time, much love, everyone, and bye for now.